The most massive influence is the topic digitisation. Digitisation in the sense that hardware, as opposed to software, takes over an ever smaller share of the added value. At the time you founded Laserhub, there were already several platforms that offered an online service for sheet metal parts. What is the exact difference between Laserhub and other platforms that mediate sheet metal parts? Mediation is the key word here. In the 90s, with the first wave of the Internet, mediation platforms became modern. Mediation platforms that have removed the lack of transparency from the market by listing suppliers. With this, I have solved the transparency problem, but not the trust problem. Namely, the question of whether the best offer has been made by a good supplier. Is he just cheap, or does he also deliver reliably and with high quality? These are important factors in the B2B sector. This is exactly the problem that Laserhub solves. We want to create confidence in this market. We achieve this because we are the customer's contractual partner. The customer is not mediated by us, the customer buys from us. We make sure that his order is produced by the right supplier. We make sure that the logistics work. We are the contact person in regards to complaints. Our value proposition to the customer is peace of mind. He has a digital process, can order through us, and transfer his entire procurement problem to us. Next question. How does the platform function? What happens at Laserhub when the customer has uploaded his part and wants a price for it? Step 1. We check the CAD to see if it is drawn correctly, so there are no errors. If drawn correctly, we simulate the production. For a curved part, we do the unfolding and nesting. We calculate the price based on these parameters. What is Wicam's role in this process? Wicam analyzes the CAD files for us and takes over various process steps of the simulation. What happens if the customer accepts the delivery conditions and orders quantity X? What happens at Laserhub then? There is one more fact I would like to add first. Our calculations are based on the possibilities of our production network. This is important for the price and delivery times. As soon as the customer orders, we assign the order to the most suitable production partner in our opinion. Various criteria are taken into account in this selection. We take into account the machine park, typical delivery times, stock levels, and the geographical location is also relevant. This allows us to offer our customers a first-class service. And after a few days, the customer receives his sheet metal parts in the expected quality. This is the challenge. The customer not only expects a good digital process, customers expect accurate deliveries and high quality. This is what we focus on. Laserhub is active in a very revolutionary field. How do you see the development of Laserhub over the next 2 to 5 years? Also, in regards to globalization, what is your vision with Laserhub? We set out to change the industry. We didn't aim to be a standard metalworker. We want to make our mark on the industry. We view the entire process very much digitally. but also in respect to short delivery distances and core competences of the various specialized suppliers in Germany. We are not aiming for digitization as being the great leveler, but as the key to the most suitable manufacturers in our country, and thus offer the additional benefit to customers. On the subject of globalization, I have just mentioned regionalization. We have had a strong trend towards the Far East over the last 30 years. We do currently see an extreme counter-movement, reinforced by Corona. Anyone who has ordered sheet metal parts from China has to consider if this is the right thing long term. We see our service as the answer. An affordable, highly flexible, highly stable supply chain next door. When starting Laserhub, how did you get in touch with Wicam? How did the cooperation between Laserhub and Wicam start? When founding the company, we looked at what the core competencies of Laserhub should be. Which technologies do we buy third-party? We decided to buy in everything to do with CAD. We had an intensive selection process and came across Wicam relatively quickly. We decided on Wicam quite quickly. Why did you choose Wicam? As there are some other CAD/CAM companies that offer manufacturer-independent software. Yes, there are. We always look at 3 pillars. 1, the technical area. 2, the personal area. The third pillar we call startup fit. Does the partner fit to us as a company? Personally, we came to an agreement very quickly. Technically, we had a high level of conformity on where we wanted to go. Wicam said goodbye very early on to the idea that the future is on-premises software. The future is cloud software via API interfaces. Accordingly, we had a lot of compliance with Wicam. Third point, startup fit. We appreciate Wicam's strongly entrepreneurial orientation, and at the same time, this iterative approach. Try it, test it, validate it, and go to the next level, compared to 6 months or 1 year forging concepts. We like that very much because it simply suits our company. Then I would like to discuss another topic, namely the ERP connection. This is the daily business at Wicam, and we see this increasing more and more. How do you look at ERP connections at Laserhub? Is that about to come or not? Of course. The aim is to have as few digital breaks as possible. This requires the right interfaces. We and our customers are developing in this direction. At the same time, I have to say that there is still some way to go. What we already have in the area of cloud software does not yet match the reality in the European industry. There is still a lot to be done. How do you see ERP interfaces and cloud solutions in the context of mechanical engineering over the next 20 years? 20 years is a long way into the future, and I'm not able to make this prophetic statement. But there are certainly a few trends where we already can say that it will have a very high impact. The most massive influence is the topic digitisation. Digitisation in the sense that hardware, as opposed to software, takes over an ever smaller share of the added value. Example: retrospectively, the last 20 years in relation to laser machines have been strongly influenced by the question, how much kilowatt laser power the machine has. Do I use a CO2 laser or a fiber laser? Strongly influenced by the hardware. The future will be different. The issue of whether to use an 8 kilowatt or a 4 kilowatt laser will be secondary to the question of which machine I will be using for this job. There is still a lot of potential and efficiency gains that we can realize in this area in particular. What I would like to know is how Laserhub has dealt with the corona crisis so far. I think there are two perspectives. The short-term perspective, looking back over the last 4 months, we have not been hit as hard as other industries. The big ones around us had to deal with short-time work, and we have remained stable in sales. And that has been reassuring so far. Mid-term, we believe that corona will have a rather positive effect on our business model. 2 reasons. First reason, all purchasers who ordered from the Far East faced massive problems in the last months. Example, kilogram air freight from China in normal times is €1 per kilo. Currently, we are at 15, 16, 17 euros per kilo. Crazy. The purchasers who have built themselves the leanest procurement solution, ideally relying on only one supplier at a time, didn't necessarily have a problem, but they were scared. Our answer to this issue? A local procurement strategy. We work together with many suppliers and are therefore very stable in such times of crisis. We did not have any downtime in the last 5 months that we could not compensate for fairly quickly. Especially this redundancy. This discussion takes place in almost every purchasing department. How do we get sustainable certainty? Here we are a very good answer. What do you get from the mechanical engineering companies when it comes to digitization? Everywhere you hear that companies are going for digitization. Has this arrived in mechanical engineering now? I think it has arrived in people's minds, but not in the fabrications. There is some uncertainty, which is good. I think it is clear that something must be done now. What advanced solutions are already on the market? Which machine manufacturers are already defining themselves as a software company and is ranking the hardware in second place? We've seen almost nothing like this in the market so far. There is still a lot to do.